When did I get a message?
You have one new message.
Hey, JP, you fucking freak, we're partying. Where are you at? I'll chirp you later. Here's Sam.
Hey, JP, we celebrated the game tonight. Stop it.
Give me the phone. My name is JP. I'm a robot. I like robots. I have a robot vagina. I am not amused.
What up? DJ Anubis here with you on the Meltdown Radio podcast with another episode of When I Raid Alone. Today, I will talk about a couple new games I've been playing. They're older games, but just new to me, and they're free. Or one of them was free on Epic Games, and the other one was like a $10 on sale till the 10th. So I'll be getting into those throughout this episode. Also, be talking a little bit more about Diablo 4 and some of the fallout with kind of like it should be noted that like any streamer that I talk about and I use them as their quotes and their videos and I discuss their stuff. I like them. I follow them. I subscribe to them. I enjoy their content for various reasons. But it doesn't mean that I agree with every little thing they do or say. And I find there's a bit of I've talked about before, a little bit of contradictions and hypocrisy with how they go about talking about games like Diablo 4. Now, I'm not a Diablo 4 simp because if anybody has ever paid attention to any of my videos regarding Diablo 4, I still have problems with it. I'm actually going to give a list of stuff that I'd still like to see for the game going forward, but I'm also going to criticize some of what I would say, the mock outrage or the drama that is always surrounding Diablo 4 with some of these streamers who continue to play the fucking game, continue to diss it, and continue to compare it to other games. It's just dumb. It's just dumb, and I'm going to get into all that at some point as well. But I want to start with one of the games I've been playing more recently, trying out. It's a game called Werewolf, the Apocalypse Earthblood. And basically, the basic premise of the game is that the player characters are Garu, meaning werewolf, or will, as they say, who have undergone some training and succeeded in the rite of passage. After this, they advance in rank by working together to gain fame. The game takes place in a fictional world where werewolves, vampires, and other legendary creatures secretly live beside humans. Now, I didn't know about the vampires, so that's kind of cool. I haven't got that far in the game yet, but This setting is a dark reflection of the real world filled with corruption, apathy, violence, and hopelessness. So there's a lot more in it with the title here, but really that's the basic of it. It's like almost a first person shooter thing, but at the same time, you get to transform into a werewolf and have different skills, and you can like improve your skills over time with what they call like spirit points. So I'm gonna play the trailer first, and then we'll go and we'll look at some gameplay and how you get an idea what the game's all about. And I've got various videos today by Darth Microtransaction, of course, Clint Wolf, Fight Clips HD, Asmon Gold, and Legendary Drops. Just to put that out there, we'll have those links in my description box once this video goes up on YouTube. So here is the trailer for Werewolf: The Apocalypse. Bad motherfucking ass, dude. I love that trailer. So yeah, this game is very cool so far that I've had now. I've run into my first kind of like roadblock, basically because like right now I'm infiltrating a company that's out like trying to steal like the blood and gene or DNA from our werewolves, our clan, our pack, to try and make their own like super soldiers in a way. I guess that's kind of like the theory I've figured out in my head. They're doing testing on some of us. Um, Now, not every person in the pack has changed into a werewolf. Like it's almost like they said a rite of passage. So, we have a deep connection with the earth. We have like this. I'm still trying to figure out like a spirit, a tree spirit or something that we talk to. But in some ways, it reminds me a little bit of a Metal Gear Solid, like when you would have to kind of sneak around and not be detected. So there's things like that going on in the game. Uh, but it is also cool that you saw those other wolves that were surrounding the werewolf. Well, we have some that are like I guess we communicate with. They're almost like pets, but friendship and kin as well. So I'm not going to give anything away, but there is a sad moment with one of them with regarding my character early in the game. But yeah, so it's very, very cool. And I want to go ahead and start checking out some of these gameplay a little bit just to give you an idea of what's going on. And I'll try to explain some of the stuff in there if I can.
Flare stack.
Ava, I've connected you to the first flare stack.
Good. Keep it up. We've got this.
Using his shape-shifting ability, Kahal can transform into a wolf to move around faster. You can transform into 3 different forms, and each one has distinct gameplay.
Now I'm playing this on PC. Now I haven't really figured out how to move super fast. Like it tells me like what I should do, but I haven't really figured it out on my keyboard or my mouse exactly how to do it. I can shift into the regular wolf and run and kind of move at a quicker pace, but I haven't yet figured out how to sprint. Now if someone asked me like, is this game for consoles? And I think it is. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty certain it is. Right now, like I said, Epic Games is selling for $10 until the 10th. A lot of their games they got on sale right now going until the 10th. So there's different games they got on sale, but so it's a great price and it's a lot of fun so far. But for the PC, I haven't really figured out certain things yet, so that might help me with some of the stuff that I'm running to a roadblock with. But it's cool because you can go from your lichen form basically to the regular wolf, like you showed there, and then you saw at the bottom it had like a spirit spirit point bar or whatever. So you're earning those as you go, and those will help you with different skill abilities going forward in the game.
Mechanics. The human form is used for social and environment interactions. The wolf form is the best form for infiltration and exploration, and the Krynos form is used for combat. By selecting and alternating between these forms, you can choose which approach to use for the different situations you encounter during the game. If infiltration fails, the Krynos form is often the only choice you have left.
Yeah, so you see right there, when you go into serious combat, you're changing into your lichen form, and that shit's nuts, man. Like it's so cool. You can leap, jump, and I'm still kind of learning that because like on keyboards, it is still kind of a little bit different and weird in terms of playability, but I'm getting used to it and having a good time with it. Yeah, so here's some more of that. I think I don't know how long this one is, but again, more play of different things. So that part you saw there was sort of where I'm at in the early part of the game. I'm infiltrating this like warehouse or whatever it is to try to sabotage their shit. So I think I took the sound out of this one. Yeah. So again, this is just more showing of the gameplay and the wolf and stuff like that. So I haven't quite gotten this far yet in terms of I'm still at nighttime and all that stuff. My character at the beginning, I have a wife who also works in the pack with us, but she's not a werewolf. She's just a regular human. So my daughter currently is someone who probably possesses the ability to change, but she hasn't changed yet. So it's like again the rite of passage shit that I was talking about earlier. It's just a really fun game. You can switch over to like this vision mode to pick up on any kind of enemies and stuff. That's pretty rad as well. So far I'm having a blast with it. Like these aren't the kind of games I usually like, but because of the premise and everyone knows I love my werewolves, and it definitely has the werewolf I like. It's not just your wolfman looking thing. This is actually like a lichen, and of course you can sneak up on people and do some pretty cool stuff. Well, so my biggest thing right now is I've gotten to a point in the game where I'm trying to sneak around to do some more sabotaging, but I keep getting detected and I have to keep fighting. So the thing about it though, these guys that are doing all this, the enemy, they are they also have weapons and ammunition that's silver. So like you are allergic to silver, and the more they inject into you, the more damage it does. So you have to be careful with when you're attacking the groups, and they come out with shields and armor. But the wolf Lycan form is very strong, and you gain powers like even more. Like I won't say like I don't know how far in the game it goes in terms of the power, but like there's almost like this electric shield. It's not even a shield, but like it's almost electricity that surrounds you a little bit. And I don't know if that's supposed to represent some sort of spirit power or whatever, but it increases and makes your Lycan form that much stronger. So certainly a very, very cool game. Definitely check it out if you haven't. Like I said, dude, for $10, dude, it's more than worth it right now. And I'm only like, I don't know, maybe an hour or two into the game, so I haven't really gone super deep with it yet. But I've been having a lot of fun with it so far. If you like that kind of stuff. All right, I'm gonna not get to the next game just yet. I'll leave that for last. I do want to talk about this Diablo 4 stuff again. I know people get kind of tired of it, but personally, for me, I enjoy Diablo 4. Now, Diablo 4 struggled when it came out. It was really bad. They've been using the people that pre-purchased it and everything to be their testers for free. We know this. We kind of got duped into that project. Season 1 was abysmal. I think I took a character to 50 and then just quit. Like I didn't even care about season 1. Season 2, however, has been a fucking blast. Like it's been way fucking better, dude. What they've done with season 2 and the things they've gifted and stuff like that has been much better. Now I've finished everything that I want to finish with season 2. There's some things like the cosmetic rewards for season 2 are nothing to be that great about, but there's these elixirs you can get with the blood things that you pick up throughout the winter tide or whatever the fuck it is. Those I think you can hold on to once the season is done, and those, of course, I just stockpiled those. The cosmetics I just didn't even give a shit about. Plus, it took so many of them to even if you were going to get all the cosmetic stuff, like it would take so many, and it's just a waste of time. The amount that you had to transfer in exchange to get the enough to do for. So I was like, fuck it. You only had to use like one exchange to get the elixir, and it was just you can get a lot of those compared to the other stuff that just wasn't that great. But as far as the experience and like the fun, like I've had much better. Like I finally this time now, since the game's been released, gotten 5 different classes up to 100. Now I know that's people are like, oh, you're just now getting there, dude. I did that like first time around. Like, yeah, some people are because they can play the game for 24/7, like a lot of these streamers, and they'll have like a shit ton of fucking like characters at 100 already since the day it opened. But they're deleting characters and then coming back. So like, I don't want to really do that. So these 5 characters that I managed to get up, I found builds that I really like. Ones that transfer Eternal Realm, I'll be happy with that. The only issues in terms of like what I would want more in the game. So this is basically my list, right? This is what I would want. I think once you get like above 70 or even 85, I think items that drop should be better than anything you have currently equipped. Like you should automatically be getting items that are like really you should be getting items that are like 900 or better. 900 or better. Like right now, if you play the game, even on tier 4, you're still going to be getting shit that's like item level 6 or 700. It's like, what is the fucking point? You're wasting space. I mean, sure you can get materials from it, but I don't know. It's kind of worthless. And then the other issues I kind of have now is too with the bosses, which finally I was able to get a lot of uniques, which is great. Gotten a few Ubers. Nothing to really write home about because the drops are still kind of low for those, but uniques drop pretty well from the bosses like virtually every time. But the issue I have is Duriel's the only one that drops like 925s. And I think that's a waste of time because unless you have Duriel drop every type of unique that's out there at 925. So like if I want to get, a certain thing for a particular character, Dario might not drop that at all. But you might have to go to another character, but that character doesn't drop a 925. It only drops like below 900 at best. And so that's kind of a waste of time because most people are going to spend their time with Dario because they want the 925 item level or higher. Now, obviously, some people are doing the Zier, the Uber Zier thing going on, Avatar Zier, and I haven't done that because, like, for one, you have to be pretty strong to get into that, but two, uh, the glyph they have, even though that might be a good thing, I think from what I recall, it's not going to be there by the end of the season. Like it's going away. So it's kind of like why bother farming and doing something when you can't keep the item. Like this is probably the biggest problem that the devs have right now with Diablo 4 is that when we talk about end game stuff like you can't take a eternal character and use it in a season. Like I never understood that. So when season 3 starts, even though I'm looking forward to it, I have to start a new character and I've already decided that I'm going to use a sorcerer because that's the one character that I enjoy playing the most. But it has its share of problems because defensively, it isn't very strong. And it's so weird because if I take the barbarian, which I have, I can pretty much withstand anything. Same with the druid. But if I have a necro or rogue, or even my rogue is pretty good, but the sorcerer and necro, dude, like they take damage so hard that it's really tough to even do some of this shit. And I'm just like, I don't even know how some of the other guys do it, but uh, I'm still kind of learning, and that's fine. I'm getting better at recognizing the gear and the stuff that I need. That's the other thing about uniques I have a problem with is that you can't change any of the stats and you can't change any of the aspects. And so the reason why that's a problem is if I like my necro, I would like to use minions, but the build that I have is better without them. And so any kind of unique that I get, it has to make sure it's specified for that particular build because I have uniques that are meant for the minions, and I just don't use them, so I can't use it. It's pointless, and you can't change the aspect into something that's more useful. So that's a problem to me. I think when it comes to uniques, like again, I think that in my opinion, like so when we look at like uniques like the God Slayer or Tybalt's Will, like or which is used for universal, it can be used for any character. I've actually gone and used those two items on all my characters because they increase the stats, they increase the attack power, all that stuff. But technically speaking, for like my Frost Sorcerer, I should be using the Ice Heart Brass Pants, but like Tybalt's Will just does more damage. It gives me more damage with it. So it's like I just have a hard time like getting past the fact. I think all the Ubers and stuff like that should be universal, unless it's like a weapon that's specific to a character. So like the Oculus is mainly for sorcerer. You probably I don't think you can use it for a necro. I think it is sorcery specific, but as far as all the other gear, man, it should be universal because if you're not allowing us to change the aspects, then we need to make the aspects universal too. So I don't know how they can do that. In terms of because sometimes when you make it specifics for like for necro, you have an aspect that's for bone spear, which I use. But then what if you're somebody that doesn't use that? Like what if you're using like the Reaper or something else that isn't bone spear? Like how do you navigate that particular unique? So to me, there needs to be some work done with uniques on how they correlate with your characters because right now there's not a lot to choose from unless they increase the amount of different uniques you can get to adjust to the various builds that are out there. And let's talk about builds, right? Right now, the devs for Blizzard have admitted that um, you can only really win the game with certain builds, and I think that's stupid as fuck. Like, you have to be able to win the game with any build you want, because there's builds that I really like that I don't want to change. I don't want to play something that I'm not comfortable playing or don't really like, only to have like, because then I'll never be able to do the game. So like, if I need a certain build to go into the Aberrator's Ear, I'll probably never get to play that at any point because I'm not changing my specs. Like, I like the builds I have. I want to be able to take my Frost Sorcerer and go in there without using Ball Lightning or anything else, and go in there and beat it with Frost. Like, that's the whole point of the game, is to have fun playing a build you want to play. You shouldn't have to be relegated to one particular build. I'm a big fan of World of Warcraft in terms of the queue system for dungeons and raids and stuff. So I think Diablo 4 needs that right now. The only way to really group up is to go into the trade chat and just ask, "Hey, looking for group? Let's do this." Um, while it works to a point, I think it's better if they actually make a queue system, because some people who have moved on to like Aberrator's Ear, uh, like the more shit that Diablo 4 puts out in terms of content, like, they're going to keep building upon it. Everyone's talking about the expansion, which we'll be getting into some of those videos about. But as stuff, more content comes out, people are going to still be doing these other dungeons and stuff and these bosses, and so they're going to want to be able to group up with people. So there needs to be like a queue system if you're looking for a particular item, and that's why I think it's important that each boss drops all the shit. Like what's the point? Just make it all 925 for all of them. Just raise the level that you have to be in there. So let's say you have to be 85 plus, or 100. You can make it 100. Like, I mean, obviously, I'd probably be better 85 plus. Just drop everything to 85 plus. This way, people who are at lower levels can start getting their uniques and building upon that. But they should be making these uniques higher, like 900 or better, especially when you hit 85. Like, it just needs to be adjusted. And the queue system would help a lot in terms of like, oh, you're looking to run the Beast of Ice? Good, let's go do this. Like, it's too complicated right now to really try to get people on board to do this or that or this. When it comes to trading for materials, right now I've bought some from people, so it saves me the grinding of doing it all, because I built up so much money while playing season 2, which, thank you, they increased the gold drops and stuff. That was good. But you might be better served by putting in like a trade center to where people can post it up and you can just purchase it, or auction, like they do in World of Warcraft. That would probably be a good system to have, a little bit more convenient for people who are just looking for specific items. Help tides still need to be adjusted. I think they are going to kind of move these a little bit from what they were. They did adjust it a little bit, but the Blood Harvest showed in season 2 that all it does is move around the map, but it stays constantly running. And that's a good thing. Hell Tides doesn't, but the problem with Hell Tides is that's where you get your living steel from. So when it's not up all the time, you're wasting time waiting around for it to pop up. And if that's going to be your only outlet for the Hell Tides or for living steel, then it needs to be up 24/7. I don't care if it's moving around the map, but it needs to be up constantly so you can keep going and farming those particular items in order to get into a certain boss. I'm also not a big fan of the re-leveling glyphs, and this is the same thing with the aspects. So, like, some of my characters, I didn't bother wasting time going to dungeons getting glyphs because it's just dumb. Or not glyphs, but aspects. So glyphs, to me, once they drop, if you already have it maxed out, it should automatically be there, like wherever you have it. Like right now, I've got most of my characters at 15. I think it levels at 20 or 25 or something like that. But it should stay whenever you start a new character. Like, once your glyphs drop, they should, if you already have a character that has those, it should be right where you're at, so that you can keep building upon that and not have to regrind everything. Like, that's just a pain in the ass. And it does need to realize this. Like, I don't want to sit there and rebuild all the shit. And this is why I think that if you can't use the same character and build upon that character, then what's the point? Like, why are we starting over with every character every season? It doesn't make a lot of sense. Um, Now I will say this about the whole like queue dungeon thing, right? If they're not going to go that route, if they're not going to have you queue up and get help for certain bosses, then let's get back to what Diablo 3 had with the companions and make the companions a little bit stronger. So, if you remember playing Diablo 3, you were able to take a companion with you out on, the fight and whatnot. And so whether it's um, shit, a paladin or a rogue or another sorcerer. So you can have one of those three options in Diablo 3. So why not add the companion as something if you can take into a dungeon, make sure that they're strong enough to compete with you to defeat the boss. Like that makes sense. If you're not going to do a queue system. Now, I know they want to endorse the working with other players and teamwork and stuff, and that's fine. But for someone like me that's a super casual player, I play my own. I have my own guild, my clan that I made. It's just my characters, but unless somebody joins me, groups. I mean, I have friends that I've gathered, friendly to help me do certain things, but like I'm not super friends with them. So like again, either a queue system is needed or there needs to be an alternate way to go in solo these bosses, unless if you're not as strong as some of these other players that are really good at this game. So that needs to be worked. The glyphs and the aspects, like you shouldn't have to go get aspects. That's dumb. It's all right to reset the dungeons, but as far as like the glyphs or the aspects that show up in your catalog, they should already be there. If you've done it once already for all of them, they should be there. And that's a waste of time to go back and get those. Okay, so uniques. Now, here's the thing. This is tying in with stash tabs. Stash tabs, stash tabs, stash tabs. That's a big thorn in the side for a lot of us. They did add one tab, but let me tell you something. When you have a season like season 2 where people are having fun and we're gathering up all these uniques and stuff, dude, I have so many uniques now that I haven't destroyed them because I'm just hoping that Blizzard finds a way to reutilize them. So my theory or my hope is that we have a system where you can reforge uniques. So let's say you've acquired 5 Godslayer helmets and you want to be able to reforge them. You don't want to destroy them, but you want to reforge them into a Godslayer X or something better than what it was. Then that would be a nice thing to have, because I have so many uniques right now that I had to create dummy characters to hold all of them, plus the ones that my characters currently have. So like, I just, there's no more room in hell right now on Diablo 4. Like I have no more room for uniques. Everything's full. So if Blizzard can find a way to utilize this, either if we destroy them, give us a certain type of math that would go into upgrading your uniques in some way, or if you have doubles of stuff, make it 5 or 10. Doesn't matter what the fuck number you want to put on it. I mean, I'd rather keep it lower, but let's just say 5 of each item, right? So if you have 5 Oculuses that you manage to achieve, well, then you can create like the super Oculus. Like, just we need some system in place where we're not holding on to these uniques, because, they don't, even though they drop from the bosses pretty regularly, whenever you get one, you kind of feel like you just won the lottery. So you're like, I don't really want to destroy it because, like especially the Uber uniques, you don't want to destroy them because you don't know how often they're going to drop. And so I still have an Oculus that I can't use because my character's higher than the item level, but I don't want to destroy it. So if I ever get 4 more of those, or 3 more plus the one I'm using that's a higher level, I should be able to reforge that into a better weapon for that character. That would be fun. And I think people would enjoy that, and it'd be worthwhile farming uniques for those specific reasons, right? I don't know. Tell me what you all think about that. Like, that's one of my favorite ideas in terms of the uniques and how to deal with the overflow that we got going on right now. I talked about the trade market, buying, selling mats. Need more options for uniques for wands and focuses. So, or even the thing that the druids use on their offhand. Like we need like in terms of uniques for something for that. I think there's one out there. I haven't ever got it. But like the wands, you have like just 2 options, and like let's like when I talk about the rogue, right? So I have 2 like slots for either daggers or swords. Like right now, there's only you can only use 1 combination. So like, why can't he use 2? Because I have a bunch of those too, you know. So we need a way to use a couple items when you have a player or a character that uses 2 swords or 2 daggers. They should be able to use the same type of weapon. You know, it shouldn't be relegated just 1. Uh, so that needs to happen, in my opinion. There needs more options for weapons and stuff like that for sorcerer and characters that use offhand weapons. Yep. So I talked about everything that I think that needs to be upgraded as far as I can remember. So yeah, if you guys have any ideas on what you'd like to see done, let me know. Or if you think I'm out of my mind, let me know that too. But let's talk a little bit about some of these streamers and their constant like bitching and moaning about Diablo 4 not measuring up to say Path of Exile. I'm gonna say it again. People like what they like, and I don't care if you enjoy Path of Exile, great, right? I don't like Path of Exile. I've tried it a number of times. I still have it on my computer. I've tried it a number of times. I don't like it. I don't like the feel of it. It's just a pain in the ass. I don't like the mathematical gymnastics I have to do to figure out, you know, the cliffboard, the Paragon board, and everything else. People whine that Diablo 4 is a little bit too simple and presentation. Maybe they need to expand it a little bit, but you don't need it to a point where if I get on for a couple hours, I had to spend an hour and a half just figuring out what to do, like in terms of building the character. Like, I don't want to do that. I want to be able to get in. I want to play. I want to destroy shit. The problem right now with Path of Exile is I get in there and start playing thinking, okay, I'm going to try this again. You know, I'm going to see if I can have some fun with it. And then I die like at level 8. Just die. Like, there's no way I can beat this like one little boss. And he's not even that strong. So it's a waste of time. Total waste of time. And I'm not going to do that. It's not about dying. It's about like it's like the hell tides for Diablo 4. If you die, you lose half your fucking little things that you're picking up, which is dumb. Like, you shouldn't lose anything like that. Now, that doesn't happen on Path of Exile, but the reality is, like, if I'm spending more time dying from a simple boss like level 8, why the fuck would I want to continue a game? Why? It's dumb. So, yeah. So, whether or not I'm understanding all the complexities of Path of Exile, you can argue that all day long. I have ADD, dude. I don't need to spend this time trying to decipher this game this hard. Now, I will say this. After watching some of the info on Path of Exile 2, and the developers are saying, hey, we're going to make it a little bit easier for those that are kind of just getting into the game to understand a little bit easier, but we're not going to take away the challenge for the guys and gals that love the more complex part of it. That's great, because I will try Path of Exile 2 when it comes out. Graphics look amazing, sure. But for people trying to argue about the, you know, whether Diablo 4 is better or worse than Path of Exile, I'm just going to have to say no. Path of Exile sucks in that comparison. Now, part of its graphics, they're just not that great, but the game's 2 to 10 years old. So that makes sense, right? But the other part of it is, like, some people just don't care for the over complex shit. And that doesn't really make a game better. I think that's like a weak excuse. That's just fucking like gatekeepers and elitists that want to like try to bully people into like not liking more straightforward games, and which is what Diablo 4 is. I just want to get on for a couple hours, play my character, have some fun, get some shit, and that's it. Like, I don't need to be. If you ever listen to a lot of the streamers that have been busted on D4, they play games for 24/7, dude. That's all they do. So naturally, if you're going to blow through a game in a couple of days, then you're going to be bored with it, right? That's the problem. Now, season 2, dude, I've been having a great time. Now, I've only stopped because I've gotten to a point where I'm done for the season. I'm just waiting for the end of January for season 3 to start so I can see what they're going to bring. But let's get into this. The first one, the main video for both of these clips I'm going to show you is a guy named Legendary Drops. Seems like a cool dude. I don't know much about him. This is the first time I've ever seen any material from him, but both Asmon and DM did some commentary on his post, on his video. And he kind of goes through talking about the expansion. Again, he's comparing Path of Exile with Diablo 4, which I get so frustrated with that shit. But because they're totally different games, dude. Really, they are. I mean, they're same in terms of like design, in terms of like what you're supposed to do with like building a character, but they have a lot of differences in terms of presentation. And to credit Legendary Drops, he says, Diablo 4 is made for the more casual player. Yes. So let's get into this. The first one is DM. I think I only put a short clip of his in here. So we'll listen to see what he says a little bit, and then we'll talk about it, and then we'll get into what Asmon says about Legendary Drop stuff.
Now, this was a brand new channel with Diablo 4 coming out, and it kind of had this scale there, which it is a very, I want to say, weird feeling. Like, it feels good, but you're also like, oh shit, like what's happening? So I know what he means.
And in that video, I simped for Diablo 4.
We all did.
I said things like, guys, don't worry about it. The cash shop is just there to fund the further development of the game so it can be even better over time.
Okay, well,
it might. And this is the problem with these guys, right? So whether he's simped for Diablo 4 or not, doesn't matter. Like, now he's just simping with the crowd that is hating on Diablo 4. He doesn't need, to be honest, he doesn't even know what the fuck is planned. Like, people have to understand, like, the shit that Blizzard was talking about in terms of, would you pay $100 for an expansion? That was like them just throwing it out in the wind. Whether or not they really do it, they might. But let's get real here. Let's be really real here. World of Warcraft charges almost $80 per fucking expansion every time they come out with one. So if you're someone who's played Blizzard games, World of Warcraft or whatever, then you already know this is what they do. Do I think that would I pay $100 for an expansion this early from Diablo 4? No. I mean, it would have to really like blow my socks off and like give me a rub job for me to do it. Like if the expansion gave me everything that the base game didn't give us, like if Diablo, the devs just figured it all out and said, hey, you know what? We fucked up, but in this expansion, we put a lot of work into it. We've given you everything that you've talked about, everything that I just gave you guys on a list. It's in there. I might consider it. Now, I'd be cautious because we all got duped the first time around. But here's the other thing about it. I first got into Diablo 3 around Reapers of Souls, which came out 6 or 7 years after its release. Now, the thing is, everyone I've talked to, Poet and other people who played Diablo 3 from the beginning, said that they ran into the same fucking problems. Now, you can argue, and I would agree with you, why didn't they learn their lesson from Diablo 3 when they started Diablo 4? Because it seems like they didn't. However, we also know that the developers of Diablo 4 are not the same as Diablo 3. So, in my opinion, they should have looked at Diablo 3, even if they're new developers to the game, and said, okay, what did Diablo 3 do wrong that we should get in Diablo 4? Well, they didn't really do that. They didn't do the research. They came in thinking they were smarter than everybody else, and they fucked up. However, you look at season 2, it's a step in the right direction. So already this guy, Legendary, he's already fucking up because he's saying, well, the money that we're putting towards it is going to better stuff. Well, maybe it is. We just don't know because it hasn't happened yet, except for season 2. We've seen some improvement there. Even Asmongold acknowledges that. So one of the biggest arguments that people make about Path of Exile versus Diablo 4 is that Path of Exile was free, right? But there's a caveat to that. And this is where the hypocrisy of some of these streamers, including DM, come into. They say, well, Path of Exile is free, but they charge you for microtransactions and stash tabs. The very things that they complain about for Diablo 4 are the very things they don't mind paying for in Path of Exile. And it's like, but wait, if it's such a great game, why aren't the stash tabs there? Let's look back to Diablo 1. It had all the stash tabs, and they didn't charge you extra for that. So the hypocrisy when it comes to like, well, just because Path of Exile was a free game, it's not really free because you have to add a bunch of shit into it that you need. Okay, so I don't want to hear that shit. Plus, Diablo 4, dude, I maybe bought like a couple of cosmetics outside of that. I have not paid for anything else. I don't spend a good enormous amount of money on Diablo 4 outside of the base game. Nobody is forcing your hand here. Nobody. Was the cosmetics given during the wintertide shit that great? No. So I did something else with the things I was collecting. I forget what the fuck they're called, but I collected those and got the elixirs instead. I found something else to invest my shit into, my time with the game. The cosmetics were not that blown away. People say, well, the cosmetics you're selling are better than what's in the game. Well, they're going to make their money somehow. But it's up to you, you dipshits, like whether or not you're going to buy it. If you're not going to buy it, don't buy it. Like no one is forcing your fucking hand here.
To be fair, I don't think the cash shop is like the biggest problem with Diablo 4. All right, I'm sure we're going to get into it, but I think that a lot of the cash shop drama has been fairly overblown, if I'm just being honest. Like the $65 horse and stuff, it wasn't a $65 horse. It was a horse skin that came with $65 worth of currency. The cosmetics for me have never altered the game experience. I see comments and videos like these. I was literally reading comments this morning, and one of them said, like, the reason I don't like the cash shop is they take power out of the game and put it in the cash shop, so you have to buy it instead, which is literally just like factually not even in the game. So sometimes I feel like the cash shop stuff is not really as big of a deal as people make it out to be.
It's not, because you're just whining that you don't get that super cool skin. And it's funny because Asmon Gold talks about this same shit when it comes to retail WoW. Like, I love retail WoW. I love the gold token. I do. Fuck anybody who disagrees. I don't care. I don't like having to grind for hours upon end when I don't have that kind of time. The only people that care about the WoW token and all that other bullshit are people that are fucking gatekeepers and elitists. That's it. They rather sit there because they can sit their computer all fucking day for fucking days on end and grind away. Look, I love their content, dude. I love that they're funny. I love that they have a good time doing it. But don't lecture other people about parts of the game that they enjoy, because I don't have that kind of time to invest to try to grind for fucking gold. Asmon, all he's got to do is wave his dick around once he gets online, and his guys and his followers will go and throw him gold at him like he's a fucking cherry. Like it's just, he has it so easy in that regard. I don't want to hear about it. If he had to actually grind for it, he'd be frustrated. He would. So he finds other ways to get the things that he wants. Now, he might have an argument with certain things with WoW retail that might make sense, but to me, honestly, those are minor, because I like the speed. I like the fluidity of how WoW retail works compared to the old days. I started playing WoW during the end of Burning Crusade. So this is around 2007. And I enjoyed the fuck out of it. I was up all night playing the game because it was so new to me. But when I went back and attempted to do hardcore, I think I got my character to level 12 or something. It reminded me just how painful it was to play that game, right? It's just so painful. And since I like playing a hunter, you had to sit there and feed your pet all the time to keep it happy, or else it was going to leave your ass behind. Like, I'm like, who the fuck wants that? I don't. That's so painful, dude. I don't want to do all that. And if you're someone that doesn't have all the time in the world to dedicate to hours upon hours in a game like these guys do, they aren't in the real world. They live in these bubbles where they don't understand that half the people that fucking play these games are not, they have day jobs, dude. We have families and everything else. A lot of these people are single. They don't have much going on outside of it. This is all their life is. And look, I can appreciate because I watch them. I'm entertained by them. They're smart. It's not that they're dumb, they're smart. But they don't really live in the real world in that terms of like how one person's gonna like this game versus another.
Look, we all have our moments of weakness. I learned from mine. So I was really surprised to see that when I put out my last video about how Diablo 4, an expansion for the game, wouldn't be worth $100, I wasn't expecting such an outcry from people that, well, while many did agree with me, there were a lot that didn't.
Okay, this is true. There is a lot of what I would consider Diablo-only players. In fact, in my Discord, I was reading a conversation where people were arguing between Path of Exile and Diablo. I have before 7 videos that it is a competition in terms of company to company, but it doesn't have to be competition from the player to player level. Like, if you like Diablo, that's good. Like, I'm happy for you. I don't see any world that exists in which other people need to be sad that somebody likes Diablo. We don't all have to...
Yeah, but see, here's the thing, DM. The people that, and it starts with guys like yourself, and I actually got to correct that because I don't want to fucking throw him under the bus or Asmon because these guys they try to be balanced with their critique of Diablo. Like, so Asmon says season 2 is a step up, so you'll see some of that later, but a lot of the hate that gets thrown at Blizzard starts with these guys because these guys are always in a rush to get content out first. So there's some exceptions to this rule, which is very interesting. So anyone that follows Rax at all, Rax is very critical of Diablo 4, but he's also one of its biggest fans. Excuse me. So it's interesting about Rax is he is very constructive about his criticism. Very constructive. And that's important. Now, the other side of this, and Hog, for people that know, I interviewed Hog and talked to him. He's a fucking cool fucking dude. I love that guy. He hates Diablo 4. He hates Blizzard for all the things that he states in his videos. And I give credit to Hog because, to my knowledge, he has not gone back to Diablo 4. He has stood by his guns, said he does not like the game. He doesn't milk it for content, whether it's love or hate. He might bring it up occasionally, but he said he was done with Diablo 4 and he's done. Like, he's said, fucking now, whether or not he goes back and tries it out, I don't know. But as of now, he backs up everything he says compared to some of these other guys like DM or Asmon. Because these guys, for all the shitting they do on Diablo 4, still play the game. Still play it. And this legendary guy, I don't know much about him, but I can guarantee you when season 3 comes out, guess who's going to be milking content for that money? Legendary drops. That's right. So it's annoying to me that people are going to spend so much time shitting all over Blizzard when you know what the score is, you know what they do, you know how they've been doing it for years. And now all of a sudden you're surprised that they're charging money for certain things, whether it's expansions or microtransactions, to which you are not forced to buy. Now, DM, I don't know if the number was accurate, but he had said he spent like an enormous amount of money on stash tabs and other items and Path of Exile. The number he gave was like $600. So let me tell you something. That is like buying 6 versions of Diablo 4 expansion. Think about it. You got a free game that you've paid way over more for all the other bullshit in it than you did when you got the game. So how is it really free? It's not free if you're spending that kind of money on a game. And it's not about whether or not he enjoys it. That's not the point. The point is your contention was Diablo 4 is charging for this. Maybe not DM specifically, but other streamers. You're charging for this, putting out a shit product in your opinion, even though they struggled. I agree. But then for a free game that you've been like jerking your dick to like left and right and saying it's the best fucking thing ever, you're still going to spend that kind of money. I don't care that I tried Path of Exile. Like, I'm not going to spend money on a free game like that. No. Even if I did, it'd be like, oh, you want $5 for this cosmetic? Sure. But I'm not going to do that because I don't like the fucking game. If Path of Exile 2 destroys Path of Exile 1, and if it destroys Diablo 4, I'll be playing it. But if I have to go through those mathematical gymnastics again just to figure the fucking game out, I'm not going to play it. It doesn't matter how great your graphics are. It doesn't matter how great this is, this, and this. If it's too much work to play a fucking game, I'm not going to play it. Doesn't mean I don't care if the rest of you play it, because the rest of you clearly enjoy Path of Exile. More power to you. But don't sit there, like, I'm not going to sit there and complain about Path of Exile in every fucking video. And I'm certainly not going to keep shitting on it because there's no point to shit on it. There really isn't. Because the system itself seems kind of nice, like what it wants to offer. But a lot of these streamers get out there and they continue just to shit all over Diablo 4. And it's like, just stop playing the game, dude. If you don't like it, pull a hog. Just quit playing it. Quit trying to milk the content for hate streaming. That's what I call it. And I know it's a little bit unfair because, like I said, these guys like DM and Asmon, they try to be a little bit more balanced. But they always hop on these bandwagons with these guys like Legendary and say, yeah, you know, he's right. No, he's not. He's not right about anything. He's just whining. If you don't like Diablo 4 Legendary, don't play it. Move on. It's so dumb. You're just milking it for content now.
Be exactly in the same boat. In fact, I like Diablo a lot longer than a lot of the hardcore grinders because they got to the point before I did where I was kind of casual, Andy, ho-hum, having a good time. And then I got along into the game and got to the point of the game where I was like, okay, now I'm bored. And I moved on and started playing Path of Exile, right? Like, I don't think you necessarily have to all agree at the same point whether or not you can enjoy the game. It's obvious you can enjoy Diablo. Like, it is possible to enjoy Diablo.
While Path of Exile isn't a game for everyone, it is the game for the players that enjoy it because of
that is such a perfect point. Diablo is a good game for people like getting into the genre, but the people that are super hardcore, like extremely passionate about ARPGs, Diablo 4 tends to not be as satisfactory because they're going to gobble up the content so quickly and then they need more and more and more.
But that's the problem. The people that you're referring to are people that play it 24/7. What you are not the majority of the people, in my opinion. Like, you are just a subset of streamers that make a living playing video games and talking about them. So here's the thing about what Legendary just said. He says, the game is not for everyone, Path of Exile. True, based facts. So let me say this. I'm just going to switch it around on Legendary. Diablo 4 is not a game for you. It's for the rest of us. So that should be satisfactory, right? Like, there's no reason to keep going back if you're Legendary and trying to shit on a game when it's not made for you. You just fucking admitted it. It's not made for you. So move on to something else. In the world of gaming, there's so many fucking games that you can possibly play, especially in this field, in this genre of game. Just move on. Quit trashing the game that you don't like. It's so dumb. You've already stated your fucking point probably once before. There's no reason to keep going back to it.
Kind of turns them from like passionate enjoyers of the game to like complainers, basically, or people that are sending feedback, if you want to say it nicely. Whereas Path of Exile, you get more and more and more and more and more into it. And again, they don't have to be a competition between each other, but for this type of player, the one
they don't have to be, but that's what's happening. And it's not helped by you guys because you keep using them as a fucking example as to why Diablo 4 is not any good. It's a contradiction that bothers me. You're saying that they're shouldn't be compared to each other, but you immediately go and use Path of Exile as the reason how they supposedly did it good. Asmon uses Path of Exile 2 as like, oh, it's going to kill Diablo 4. Well, we don't fucking know that yet. You're making a statement that isn't even based on anything because the game's not even out. Now, granted, it looks great. And of course, if it's using the same system from before, it probably will do well. But again, like, you can't make this statement that, oh, Path of Exile is not for everyone. Well, it's not. just like Diablo 4 is not for everyone. They're two separate games. And I don't care how many people want to jerk off to Path of Exile. It isn't really that great of a game. It really isn't. It's too complicated. The graphics aren't near as good as Diablo 4. There's really no story to it. It's really kind of like fucking stupid. I think Diablo 4 kills it story-wise. And this doesn't mean like anybody who's, again, you listen to what I said earlier. Diablo 4 has its fair share of stuff that still needs fixing. But I don't need Diablo 4 to be Path of Exile like some people want. Like people keep saying we need to change, like we need to add on more skill sets and stuff. No, you don't. I don't need to have 500 buttons on my keyboard that I need to worry about pushing at any given time. Path of Exile, you got to fucking have so many different fucking buttons to push to kick off like whatever fucking powers you need. I don't need that. You can have chain reactions on certain powers and use like 5 buttons. That's all you need. It's so dumb to even want more than that. Like unless you're multitasking like Ace Ventura and like what's the God movie he did. I mean, I don't need all that, dude. Like it's dumb. Why do I want to fucking sit there and overcomplicate a fucking game? Why? So dumb. And it's just my opinion. Like again, I don't care if people enjoy it. I find it stupid. Like, why do you need all that? It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, we'll finish up this and then we'll get into Asmon's take.
Mentioning here, it's like for the people that enjoy it, it's the game. That is a very astute point.
It's not really astute because he's not using it for himself. So basically, it's not made for everybody, but then I'm gonna bitch about a game that's not really made for me. Like that's what he's saying. It's not really astute. He's just being hypocritical about it. All right. Let's do Asmon's take on this.
There's been talks of the Diablo 4 expansion being $100. It's a lot of money.
I can admit when I'm wrong, albeit it doesn't happen all that often, but when it does, I can admit that I'm wrong.
Okay.
Give you guys an example. About a year ago, one of the third or fourth videos I ever made how Diablo 4 add things over time, where Diablo 4 has only been out for less than a year. And from their perspective, this is true. Path of Exile has had over 30 leagues, each bringing new items, systems, content expansions, bosses.
Let's also keep in mind here, right? Up until Diablo 4 got released, nobody was talking about Path of Exile. Nobody. DM didn't know about it. Some other streamers didn't know about it. Hog didn't know about it. Then all of a sudden people started talking about it and they went and started playing Path of Exile. So you tell me like how great a game is when nobody fucking knew about it for 10 years. That's the thing. It kind of gets me laughing a little bit. Like nobody knew about it for 10 years that this was a good game. It just all of a sudden dawned on you when Diablo 4 didn't live up to your expectations, even though you knew this is how they work.
Monsters and various improvements to the game over the span of its 10-year reign. Some leagues are more successful than others. Some content is...
Well, here's an immediate fucking argument against that. Look at Diablo 3. How many fucking seasons did that game have? It had more seasons than PoE did, I'll tell you that. And where the fuck did those go? Did the game look like PoE at the end of it? No, it didn't. There it is.
Kept for the long haul, and other content is removed because players just didn't
Toxic
enjoy it.
Rain.
10 years is a long time to improve upon
Rain of
your
Arrows?
system, engage with players, and implement the feedback and data that you've learned into the development of the game. While Path of Exile isn't a game for everyone, it is the game for the players that enjoy it because of how well Path of Exile...
Yeah, and see, Diablo 4 is the game for the people who enjoy that. See how that works? See how that works? And I don't have to shit on Path of Exile. They'll make that point. It's funny how that works.
Exile has handled its continued development and its monetization. So yes, this complaint is actually true. They are right. I am wrong in this from a very narrow perspective. A less than a year-old Diablo 4 versus a 10-year-old Path of Exile is an unfair comparison in a world without context. But we don't live in a world without context. And in this matter, context is king. The Diablo series spawned the loot-driven subgenre within ARPGs, aspiring numerous titles to emulate its formula, including Path of Exile. The game's focus on character progression, loot collection, and real-time combat had become a standard in the genre. Diablo was released almost 3 decades ago in 1996, captivating players with its immersive storytelling, randomized dungeon layouts, and loot-driven gameplay.
There's also the reality of a lot of these people that didn't actually play PoE in 2012 and 2013, and they don't remember what the game was like. Let me tell you that Path of Exile in closed beta had more complexity than Diablo 4 does right now.
But that doesn't make a game good, though, Asmon. It doesn't. It makes a game good for you. It doesn't make a game good for everybody, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, I don't need to have an over complex game where I've got to sit and get my notepad out. Let's see if we do this. And do this. Okay, and I got to do this. Oh, fuck, it's 10 o'clock. I got to go to bed. I got a fucking job to do tomorrow. I don't get to stay up all night. Fuck. What a waste of fucking time.
There was more depth to it because I was there. I played when Piety was the final boss. I played when the Vol Oversoul was the final boss. Okay? Like, you would do the Vol Oversoul, you'd reset back at the beach, you do that 4 times, and then you die in maps.
Ooh, so fun dying all the time. I can't wait to die all the time. It's so great. Whoa, never experienced victory. Oh, come on.
Play. Diablo 2, released in 2000, expanded upon its predecessor's formula, offering more complex character customization, a larger world, and an enhanced storyline.
Yep.
Diablo 2 is often credited with defining the modern ARPG genre, introducing elements like skill trees and a robust multiplayer experience.
Absolutely.
I bet you Diablo 2 wasn't that complex. Like, it's not as complex as Path of Exile, but Path of Exile is so much better than Diablo 2, right? Yeah, you'll hear no one say that.
We have Diablo 3 in 2012 and Diablo 4 in 2023. Almost 3 decades of games, 3 decades of iterations, opportunities for improvement, innovation, and expansion. On the other hand, we have Path of Exile, which is Grinding Gear Games' first game. The company was founded in 2006. Blizzard Entertainment has been making games and expansions since 1994. We could go even further back, if you'd like, to its days as Silicon and Synapse, and we have an over 30-year-old game studio. Heck, even if we just look at the development cycle for Diablo 4, over 10 years since the release of Diablo 3, Blizzard has had every opportunity to improve upon its initial formula.
Yeah, but here's the problem, right? If Diablo 4 had come out and been just as complex or elaborate as Path of Exile, what's the first thing that these streamers are going to say? Oh, well, Blizzard's they're not original at all. They're stealing off of Path of Exile. So here you have them complaining that Diablo 4 is not as complex as Path of Exile, but if they did do it, all of a sudden they'd be copying Path of Exile and they wouldn't be original. So these are people that find reasons to bitch about everything. Like, so it doesn't matter. It's a no-win situation for Blizzard. It really isn't, because if they're not bitching about the fact that it's not as complex and the same as Path of Exile, they're bitching that if it was, it's just not original. They'd still be saying Path of Exile is better. Like, it doesn't matter how great Diablo 4 would be in their mind, they would still be bitching that it's too much like Path of Exile. Like, you can't win. You can't win. The only reason why people are bitching, I really think this is it, is because of the price. That's really all it is. If Diablo 4 was free, no one would really be giving a shit. That's really all it comes down to. Just don't spend the money, dude. Quit buying things if you have no faith in it. People, I said it before, Blizzard's been doing this for years with World of Warcraft. It's not a shock that they're going to charge you for an expansion. I don't know how much it's going to be in the end. But if you're acting shocked, you're a fucking moron. You're just a moron. This is a company that's been doing this for years. If you love your free game, go play your free game. Just quit complaining about something that's under your control. You don't have to buy it.
And steal some of the best parts from its competitors' games. So now with context, I propose this question. What do we have for now almost 30 years of Diablo? For a 10-year development cycle for Diablo 4, we got a decent feeling RPG that looked really good.
Well, I don't know why you're talking about Diablo 4. Like, past performance is an indicator for future performance. It absolutely is. If Diablo 3, you can assume that the way that they handled Diablo 3 will be similar to the way that they're handling Diablo 4.
Based. Thank you.
And if you look at the way that they've handled Diablo 3, did they make the game like PoE and more complex and have more interesting content as much as PoE did? No. Absolutely not. So why would you...
And they shouldn't, because it's not the same game. Like, they're similar in principle, but that's not what Diablo 4 is for, or Diablo in general. Diablo has always been a very casual player-friendly game. It's never been a game that needs to be overly complicated. I don't mind that people want more challenges or that they want stuff that's more complex like Path of Exile. Great. But quit shitting on games that you already know aren't going to be that. It's whining for the sake of whining about stuff that you already know that's part of the fucking game. Just stop.
Possibly use Diablo 4 as the foundation whenever you have a one-to-one comparison. And also, look at the bosses in PoE 2 beta. If you compare, okay, so then, all right, well, the game isn't compared to like, oh, you can't compare to PoE. PoE's been out 10 years. Well, then what about PoE 2 that isn't even out at all, and it has more bosses than Diablo 4?
Now, that's something I do enjoy about what I've seen so far from Path of Exile 2. One, the names of the bosses are pretty fucking cool. The graphics look great. And again, if the developer's saying that they're going to adjust the game to the point where it's going to be easier to migrate into it as a new player, that's a positive. And like, if people still enjoy all the complexities, if that's something that comes later in the game as you go on, great. Now, the question I would have is, with Path of Exile 2, and maybe for you Path of Exile players, as you progress in the game, can you win the game just playing at a base level? Like, I know there's like a various amount of like maps you get and things you can keep going on with. I know that they have seasons in Path of Exile, like Affliction, I think, is going on right now. But is there a way just to win the game straight out before you kind of expand beyond that, or do you have to sort of like, this is one of my gripes with Diablo 4 I've already talked about, where you should be able to win the game on the easiest level. So tier 1, you should be able to win the game there, and which you can, but you won't get the gear that you get from tier 3 or 4. So it's kind of a weird thing whereas in D3, you can win the game, get really good gear on easy level, and then if you wanted to move up tiers for more challenges, you could and get better gear that way. Diablo 4 doesn't work that way. If you want like Sacreds and Ancestrals, the only way to do that is to get on tier 3 or tier 4. And so it kind of takes away the steam from the first two tiers, in my opinion.
What about that? Do you see how this is such a dumb fucking argument? It doesn't make sense on any level.
It had awesome looking cutscenes. Story was pretty decent. No loot filters, brain dead boss design, boring loot, no end game variety, and a now.
It's kind of the only thing I find very weird about Diablo 4 is, so you're going in and you're going in these dungeons and you crowd control and stuff. Like, oftentimes I have the hardest time with the crowd. If you get frozen or whatever, one shot. But then if I fight the boss at the end of the dungeon, I just lay waste to him. Now, technically, after you've worked your ass off to get there, you kind of don't want to be wasting another 10 minutes on a boss. Like, if you're fighting one of the big bosses, that's a lot different fight. But it is kind of weird that you can literally go into the last boss of the dungeon and just like destroy him compared to everything else you just fought to get there. Like, it's kind of weird.
Deserted open world MMO light. Is it wrong of me to expect more of a $70 billion studio?
I think yes. That's one point I do agree with. I think yes. It doesn't matter how much money you put into a game. If it's going to be garbage, it's going to be garbage. Money will not solve that problem.
Yep.
Wrong of me to expect more, or is it unfair of me to compare when the studio we're talking about is the grandfather of the genre itself? No.
The problem with doing that is, and I don't know exactly everyone who's still involved with Blizzard that were there from the beginning, but for a company, I think when did Blizzard come out? Like end of the 90s when Diablo came out and stuff like that. World of Warcraft was 2004, but Diablo was before that, right? So I can't imagine that a lot of the people that were there at the beginning of Blizzard's incarnation are probably still there. There might be a few, but people come and go all the time. So this legacy that you're trying to hold up to Blizzard is actually misinformed as well as a bit disingenuous, because not only you're dealing with people coming and going with change of heads, people who are in charge, and then also just the change in times. Like gaming has come a long way since the days of it when it started, especially for PC. It's been just hugely grown out of that. Like it's just grown and progressed. So with that progression with technology and everything, things get more expensive. So regardless of how much money Blizzard makes, and Aswan's right about this, if you don't, it's like, did you guys ever see the movie Ready Player One? And so you had the guy that was running that fucking corporation trying to win the competition to take over control of the big virtual game they were playing in the movie. And he tried to fake his way with like, yeah, man, I love cracking open a Shasta soda or playing Mario Brothers or whatever the fuck he was saying in the movie, right? To try to convince our lead protagonist that he was really one of them. If you have people in Blizzard that really aren't gamers, now I'm not saying all of them. I'm sure some of these guys enjoy playing games, but if they're there just from more like a business side of it. So if you remember a few months ago when they put those two girls to come out that were developing the dungeons and stuff like that to play the game, like they really had no clue how to play it. And that was the thing that one of the things that Asmon was talking about is how they kind of embarrassed themselves because they had no idea how to actually play the game that they were developing. So fast forward to the last time they had a campfire chat, they had a guy testing the game who actually kind of knew what he was doing. And then see, if you watch what happens with Path of Exile 2, they do the same thing. They go and they have actually Diablo 4 guys didn't do it. It was actually the Path of Exile 2 guys that did it. They had a guy playing the game who'd already done it. Now, Diablo 4 guys don't have anybody doing that. No one's out there playing the game that actually knows how to play the fucking game. So my point in all this is that just because Blizzard is Blizzard doesn't mean that they're gamers. And this is the one thing I will agree with about the people that develop Path of Exile. No matter how complex the game is and how boring it is for me, you have people who are very much invested in fantasy and in gaming and how it plays and how it reacts, to the point that when you're doing the next one, Path of Exile 2, you actually brought a guy who's in part helped developing the game, play the game the way it's meant to be played. And that's the difference. That doesn't take away the fun that I'm having with Diablo 4 right now, but it does show the difference in terms of the passion for the game. So do I wish that Blizzard had more people like they do in Path of Exile? Sure. And if I was a smart businessman and I was actually in charge of Blizzard, I would be doing everything in my power to get those type of people in my group, in my fucking company. But this might be where it comes back to where Hog and Asmon have talked about. It's more about the money. But again, I as a consumer know exactly what Blizzard is. I don't pretend to think that they really care about gamers that much. They care about money. So as Asmon says, if they can be a gazillion-dollar company, but if they it doesn't mean they won't put out a shit game, because all it is, they're using a brand name from Diablo to make money. But in terms of playability for me as a gamer, casual gamer, it's fun. I have more fun playing Diablo 4 than I do playing Path of Exile. Maybe that changes with Path of Exile too. Maybe it does, because if it's if it's more inviting and more easy going for me to get into the game without dying every 2 seconds, sure, I will probably end up playing Path of Exile too. And I'm kind of curious, because I didn't hear anybody really talk about it, but is Path of Exile or the second Path of Exile going to be free? Because I would think with all the attention now coming to Path of Exile that they're probably going to want to start making some money in some way. And I wonder how many people are going to get mad at that if they ever do. Because the reality is, one thing that DM said that kind of stuck with me about Path of Exile when he was buying all the microtransactions was that he doesn't mind spending the money because he feels like the game's worth it. So if I want you guys in the comments, if you watch this, to answer this question for me. If Path of Exile 2 comes out and they decide to charge for it, because you know the history with the company, does that bother you if they decide to make some money off this game that way by charging for the game itself? Like, would that turn you off? Would you call them sellouts or anything like that? Or would you be like Darth Microtransactions and say, the game is worth it, I'm going to buy it? Let me know.
It's not. It's not unfair to compare Path of Exile to Diablo 4. And that's not me saying that Diablo 4 needs to be like Path of Exile.
It shouldn't
It's
be.
far from that.
Yeah.
I realize that Diablo 4 is a game that's supposed to appeal to a much wider audience.
Dads.
A much more casual
3
audience
jobs,
than Path
5
of
wives.
Exile. But
9
without
kids.
that-
Dude, I don't have those, Asmon. Dude, I don't have those kids. I have a wife, don't have 9 kids. I mean, I don't get to sit at my computer all day and play games, dude. That's the difference.
complexity and depth, that doesn't mean that Diablo 4 needed to be a game that lacked any innovation, imagination, or improvement. But that's exactly what we got.
Yes.
That's the reason why I'm upset, and many other players are upset too, is because it should still be more than what it is.
Sure.
That's not to say that the game won't get better over time.
And because you're an idiot, I'm just being sarcastic here, but if you didn't learn anything from Diablo 3, then get ready, because Diablo 4 is going to follow the same line. And Asmon just said it. You learn from the past, but they don't. They just do the same things over and over again. They milk the entire decade. So when Diablo 4 devs come out and say, we want this game to last the next decade, well, the reason why they do it is because they're going to use us as the testers for all the shit that we don't like, and we're just going to tell them how to build the game ourselves. That's what we're doing. We're just not getting paid for it.
But that still doesn't justify us spending...
And they have been improving Diablo 4. The game has gotten better, and I'm happy about that. Yeah. I'll tell you that. I'm happy. Like, they are improving it.
Yeah.
More money.
This is good.
Until they get that game to what it should be. And it still lacks that something that...
But see, that's incorrect. Is it too soon to bring out an expansion at that price? Absolutely. But is it shocking? No, because look at World of Warcraft, dude. Every couple of years, you're paying $80 for a new expansion. Sometimes $100 because you get all the fancy things that come with it. There is nothing different about how they do World of Warcraft with Diablo 4 right now. All those extra little microtransactions, it's all part of the game with Blizzard. It is. So you hate it, but no one's forcing you to buy it, dude. Legendary drops, like if tomorrow Blizzard comes out dropping this expansion, right? They just said, we're going to release it early, $100. You don't have to buy it. There's not one thing that's forcing you to buy that game, that expansion. Not one fucking thing. It's like these guys can't control themselves. Like, if you can't control yourself with gaming and you're spending money just because you have to have it, like, let's face it. Again, I go back to this. Like, these guys, no matter how much they bust on Blizzard and on Diablo 4, they fucking, like, use it for content. They're making money off shit they don't like. Figure that one out.
Wants to make you keep coming back to it. Another common complaint that I saw is that I said nothing about Diablo 4 and how it's improved since Season 2. Now, in the video, I did mention that
I think that it's worthwhile noting that something is improved, but it's also worthwhile noting on the foundation in which approval occurs. It occurs on the foundation of there needing to be improvement. The fact is that the game was problematic on launch, and while it is admirable to improve and fix the game, it would be more admirable for the game to be good on release. Baldur's Gate 3 was good on release. Elden Ring...
Yeah, but you know what, though, Asmon? Here's the thing. Fucking no one's talking about Baldur's Gate 3. How come nobody, including yourself, is doing content on Baldur's 3? That's what I find so fucking amazing. This game, Baldur's Gate 3, won awards this year. I have not run into any streamer that I follow, and I follow a lot of big-time streamers. Nobody's fucking playing it. No one's streaming it. Not one fucking person. He's not. Asmon's not. What about Legendary Drops? Was he playing that game? Like, for a game that everyone keeps jerking off to, no one's playing it. The only person I've ever heard say it's good is one of my friends on Facebook. That's the only person. And he's not even a streamer. And I'm not even denying that it's not a good game, but like, if it's a great game, why aren't you playing it? Dude, fucking Asmon is playing Monster Hunter right now. Even though I've had friends play it, that's an older game. So if Baldur's Gate 3 is so fucking great, why aren't you streaming it? Why aren't you showing people how great this game is? Here's the other thing. You've already stated, Asmon, that Baldur's Gate 2 or Path of Exile 2 is going to be better than Path of Exile because of what it looks. Well, if Path of Exile was so excellent and didn't need any work, why did they improve it? Because that's how it works. I'm not saying that Diablo 4 did the right thing by fucking us over when they released the game. But again, we know how they work. We know what they do. And that is, they're a work in progress every fucking time they release something. That's just how it is with them. It is what it is, as he would say.
Was good on release. Are there things they changed? Yes, absolutely. But the inadequacies of Elden Ring and the inadequacies of something like Diablo 4 are on a completely different spectrum. This is just not true.
Some improvements have been made to the game, especially in the Season of Blood. However, the uptick in player engagement was relatively negligible. So let's go ahead and look at those improvements. New players can now skip the campaign and jump right into Season 2. Previously, players had to complete the campaign at least once to even join into a seasonal realm. All renown now carries over to new characters and seasons. Previously, we still had to go out and do renown activities.
I can't believe they did the thing they should have done.
Build that stuff back up and get some of those character buffs and extra skill points. Gems no longer take up inventory space, and low-tier loot is automatically salvaged, freeing up inventory space and easing some of the pains of lack of storage. New bosses have been added to the game throughout the seasons. Target farming uniques has been added to the game, giving players the opportunity to potentially find some build-defined...
He said low-tier loot is automatically salvaged? I'm going to have to search that out. How the fuck is that? Is that like something I have to click on in my settings? Because at this point, I still have to go to my armor or forger and like, you know, recycle all the shit. I didn't know they fucking lower loot would just fucking like automatically be salvaged. I have to look into that. Somebody explain that to me. Is there something I need to change in my settings for that?
Finding items that were previously randomly found and couldn't be found just about anywhere. And they also
these are also good things.
Improved XP gains by up to 40%.
All of these things
are great improvements. I want to communicate my frustration that many of this stuff wasn't in Diablo 4 when it first released.
Exactly.
Yeah, and everybody stated their opinion on it. That's great. But see, we're long past that now, guys, because you're still bitching about shit that's been like months old now. Why? Why would you even talk about this at this point now? It's so funny. They're like, well, season 2 is a step up, but let's complain about shit that happened months ago. Guys, come on. Move on. Move on. Why are we still talking about something that's long past? It's like you're just bitching for the sake of bitching at this point.
People are asking for Renown to be account wide before the first season came out. People said, please don't make us do this. And Blizzard said, no, you will do it. And it was bad. And you know what else is really bad about it? Is the fact that I never even looked through a lot of the side quests in the game. And I bet I would have enjoyed like watching a few of them and doing a few of them for like the lore. But because there was a goal behind it, all I wanted to do was complete my goal. And so I didn't even try to learn the side quest content.
On top of that, many of the innovations that we've seen across the genre.
That's okay. I'm not doing anything in Path of Exile. So I guess we're even.
Over the course of Diablo 3's release up until Diablo 4, we still don't see any of that. Crafting, trading, interesting itemization, cross-class builds, and subclasses. At launch, Diablo 4 didn't even have boss-specific, non-cosmetic chase items. All loot, any loot, could be obtained anywhere. There was no reason to even fight bosses in the first.
I found one thing interesting, though. Especially with the horses, like, so you get like a mount or a skin of sorts, and a lot of times you get doubles. Like, I don't know what the point of that is. Like, and if you do, like, why can't you sell those or trade them or something? Like, that's another one that I would add to my list. Like, when you're getting these horses and stuff, like, unless it's like brand new and you can add to your inventory, it's kind of pointless. I don't understand like the purpose behind that.
Place, other than to just progress the story or go for achievement.
Sure.
A company with as many resources and experience as Blizzard couldn't effectively make interesting boss designs, blending colors with the text to make the environment where you couldn't even know
this is the
designs.
combat. This
blending
is
colors experience as Blizzard couldn't effectively make interesting.
You guys see that? Yeah, I didn't see that.
Make interesting boss designs, blending colors with attacks to make the environment where you couldn't even know what you were being hit by. You ended up just getting filtered by their art. So yes, Diablo 4 has definitely improved over time, massively so. And I realize that there's people that want me to
and that's the only thing you need to fucking say. Like, there's no reason to go back and compare something that they've already moved on from. And the reason why I say this is, for a lot of us, including Asmon or even Legendary, whoever's playing Diablo 4, you've already bought the game. You can't reverse in time. You've already stated 100 times, like, you weren't happy when it was released. They fucking know we weren't happy upon release, right? Everybody voiced their displeasure. Now they're working to try to get it better. But yet somehow we're still at this point in time comparing what the game was like when it got released to a game that's 10 years old. Like, it's so dumb. So fucking stupid. And then on top of that, you're still saying like it shouldn't be like that game. Like, Diablo 4 doesn't have to be like that. Well, no fucking shit. It's not.
Recognize that because they enjoy Diablo 4 as it is right now and they're looking forward to the future of the game.
Good for them.
They don't want me to just gloss over the fact that they have updated and fixed things over the course of the game.
And also, like, there's a certain amount of like with Uber Lilith too, this is another thing. Why do you allow people to walk outside of the edge of the room if walking outside into the edge of a room instantly kills you? Because
yeah, so I'll say this, like, when it comes to the end game content right now, at least technically by D4 standards, I haven't done Abattoirs here. Like I said, I don't do it because getting the glyph is a waste of time when I can't keep it. Second thing is, this Uber Lilith I have yet to beat. I even went with a couple other people, and it's funny because you group up and you would think you have a better chance, but her power raises the more people you have involved, which is stupid. But Asmon's right. So, like, I don't mind that she's a challenge, but I have yet to really kind of figure out how to fight her. So, like, I've tried standing close to her. I've tried running outside, which is immediately a death, one-shot death. And I don't know why, like, because like, you see this ring. I can't show it on the video here, but the ring here where he's dead, like you see the little circles and whatnot. That you would think if you're inside that or even standing on it, that would be automatic death sentence. Like you would think if you were outside, you'd be safe. No. So I don't really understand. Like she's only 100 plus, but like why does she have to be so strong that she's still one-shotting? Like that, to me, it's really weird. And it comes again down to people say, well, you need certain builds to defeat certain bosses, and I think that's just so dumb and so narrow-minded. And this is a gripe that I have with the developers of D4. It's not that I don't want the challenge per se, because once you get to that level, you expect a challenge, but you shouldn't be getting one-shotted at level 100. If I take a level 100 character and go in, I should not be getting one-shotted. It's really kind of a weird setup.
Having click to move it's really frustrating because the character's hitbox isn't where you think it would be. It just sucks. Because fuck you, yeah. It just sucks. It's just an unfun, frustrating way to play the game. Like, why make that hard? So you die? Why not just make it to where you can't go out there? You just at least go to the edge. Why make it to where, like, if you accidentally click too far over, you just die? It just seems like it sucks. Like, I don't know what to say. It just sucks.
I will say it is. Give credit to Legendary Iron Maiden shirt. Good choice.
Launch. However, the thing is that many of those improvements are common.
Like, Vaulton doesn't do that. You can't walk off the edge on Vaulton. Brine King? Why is it that people love to make examples of things that they don't understand? What's wrong with you? Like, why do you make it? It's nothing like that. Everything about it is different. And also, the Brine King boss is fucking annoying.
And improvements that have existed in the industry since the development of Diablo 4. So none of that justifies me or many other people spending $50 to $100 on an expansion for the game.
Yeah.
It doesn't even justify me spending money on any expansion regardless of whatever the price is. And I think this is a common issue.
Well, then don't. Again, no one's putting a gun to your head, dude. This is the thing that's always going to baffle me. Like, you know what Blizzard is. If you're a World of Warcraft player, guess what? You're going to be paying for an expansion, dude. It's just how it works. It just is what it is. Now, is it surprising that Blizzard's coming out with an expansion this early in Diablo's, existence, Diablo 4's existence? Yeah. But if I read up on it and I don't see the things that I think the expansion should have, this is where we learn. This is where we're learning, folks. Okay? This is the turning point for all of us with this game, Diablo 4. This is the turning point. We got burned when it got released. Now we're learning. So what's going to happen is when it gets released for expansion, I'm not jumping out and buying it right away. Because I know these fools are going to go buy it because they can't help themselves, because they want to be the first to either shit on it or praise it, right? So all these fools are going to go buy it, and then they're going to play it. And then once I figure out what they're doing and see how they're playing it and the pros and cons, then I'll decide to buy it. I should have did that when Diablo 4 got released the first time, but I got excited just like everyone else. Even though I know from history that that's how it happens. But the only thing is the accountability is on me, the consumer, me, the player. So it's my choice of whether or not I'm going to run out to buy an expansion that may or may not be what it's supposed to be. But I'm not going to complain they're going to charge for it. That's dumb. That's how this. Welcome to capitalism, dipshits. That's how it works. You either pay it or you don't. The choice is yours. It's not difficult. Don't buy it.
Issue that we see in gaming a lot. Gamers, every time that the studios start doing something that we want them to, start listening to us, even just for a minute, we start opening our wallets back up. And then the minute we do, the problems start all over again.
Nope.
Our reward to them for doing the right things is by us playing their game. Because if we're playing their game, it's popular. If it's
True.
popular, there's more people that are buying it. There's more people that are probably interacting with their microtransactions.
Yep. Now, so think about this real quickly. And I know Asmon God's going to agree with me here if he ever watches anything like this. Hogwarts Legacy. The only reason why that game blew up the way it did was because of all the pushback, all the negative shit. Right? And part of the reason that happens is streamers. So if you look at these guys who are constantly complaining about Diablo 4, you keep preaching to people that, well, we should stop opening our wallets. So like Hog's like, we just need to stop buying it. This way Blizzard will be forced to make the game better. But what happens is the more people talk about something, the more people get interested. So that's one thing. The other thing is, if these guys, he just admitted they're going to open their wallets and he's probably going to buy that expansion and he's going to play it because he gets paid for content. So this guy, Legendary and Asmon and DM and whoever, in order to be the first to get their shit out, because everybody wants to rush. It's like the media. They want to rush to be the first to shit or praise a game so that they have that content out there and they get those hits, those views. So you are part of the fucking problem. If you think that Blizzard needs to be taught a lesson, and the biggest lesson that companies that use money as a tool and a motivating factor is to hit them where their pockets hurt, well, then don't encourage, just stop talking about it. You've said your piece about the game being shit, but you keep bringing it up, and people that are like pissed that you're doing it are going to go out and try it anyway. And then if you go and buy the expansion, they're going to check out your content, even though they're going to mock you for fucking doing it, like I am, because you don't like the game, but you're still going to go and fucking buy it and still either tear it to shreds or whatever, just because you want to get paid for the content. If you don't want these gaming companies to continue to put out shit games, in your opinion, then quit endorsing them. Quit giving them the PR, free PR that you give them. No matter, like they say, any publicity is good publicity, even if it's bad. And that's what's happening with some of these guys. Like they just can't help themselves.
Action systems and all of that other stuff. We don't need to spend money for them to improve games. And that's something that we've been doing for far too long, and it needs to stop. Now, the last thing that I want to tackle are sentiments that were shared by both Riker and Asmongold, and this has to do...
He agrees with it, but I guarantee they're going to fucking play it. Fucking guaranteed. Even if Asmon's as big as he is, like he might get one of those like things he got for that one game where he built the castle where the company was interested in him talking about, so they sent him like free tokens to play the game, right? Guaranteed, if Blizzard says, Asmon, we want you to try out our expansion, we're not going to charge you for it. Here's early access, because I know a lot of these streamers get it. They're going to fucking do it. Even if they hate the game, even if they know they're going to charge for it, they're going to fucking put the content out there. So that they're not even, they don't even practice what they preach.
With the complexity and depth of Diablo 4 and how it doesn't really need to position itself as a competitor because it doesn't have the same target audience. Diablo 4 is meant to be a more casual game than PoE. And the way that I worded my arguments about that, well, kind of left me open to this, so I want to clarify. Path of Exile is far too complex and complicated for the layman and honestly even veterans of the genre.
Let me just explain this. So basically, this is the Temple of Atzoatl. This was added in a league called Incursion League. Incursion came out in somewhere around 2016, 2017. You have to go inside of this different area, and then inside of this area, you have the halls, and inside of the halls, there are different doors that you can open, and based off of which door that's red that you can open, the green ones are already open. As you can see, the halls connects to the cloister and also to the entrance, as you can see right there, but it does not connect to the antechamber, the splinter research lab, the poison garden, or the storage room. So then you have to go inside of these, and the amount of links that each of these rooms have empowers the rewards that you will get whenever you go inside of it. So for example, if you go to, I think it's the Shrine of Empowerment. No, it's the the Splinter Research Lab. I think if you have that at level 3, you automatically get certain rewards. If you have the, the corruption one at level 3, you automatically get a double corruption thing. And then you have to go inside of here and then kill the NPCs inside of here. Also, the architect that you kill, I think, has a factor as well, because right here, kill to change the sacrificial chamber or kill to change the corruption chamber. So you have to know exactly what chamber you want to change and how you want to change it, and then alter your Temple of Atzoatl to make sure that all of the rooms are open.
So basically mathematical gymnastics. So you need to be like a rocket scientist to figure all this out.
But actually, you don't have to do that, because if you open up the explosives room, then the explosive room allows you to actually have access to a room that you didn't have open in the previous time by using a bomb. But if you multiply the amount of openings for the explosive room, you also get more explosives, which allow you to open up more rooms that you...
Okay.
Another solar system. That's it.
When I brought up the value proposition between Diablo 4 and Path of Exile, what I was trying to really show off was the comparing and contrasting of meaningful progression. Diablo 4 lacks it completely. Personally, this is my opinion, but when I look at Diablo 4, I see Nightmare Dungeons basically being the exact same thing as Greater Rifts. I look at the Tree of
Nightmare Dungeons are better than Greater Rifts, but that's not a fun comparison.
Whispers is basically just a
That's my opinion.
reimagined version of the adventure mode. And the open world lacks really any thoughtful design whatsoever. At least in Path of Exile, with all the different systems that it has, there's meaningful ways to progress your character. Whether that's through the labyrinth, being able to access a more specialized tree of skills and abilities.
Here's a question too for your Path of Exile guys. So seasons, like, do you have to create a new character per season to play them, or can you take a character you already had and then go into that season? Because to me, they're talking about progression, right? So there's various things when it comes to progression for me. So for instance, I don't like the fact that once I have an eternal character, I can't use it in a season. Like, to me, I should be able to build upon that character, even if my levels aren't going up any higher. So if I'm maxed out at 100, that's fine. But if you remember in Diablo 3, you had the Paragon boards, and you can do certain things to increase your power. If you can do that, take a character. So if I took my 100 Sork and went into season 3, I wouldn't have to, I could actually just cut through the chase, go to tier 4, go through the dungeon or the capstone dungeons, get to the tier 4. And if they have a story, then I can just play the story and get there anyway. But if I'm interested in doing that, but in fact, it would make it almost funny, because if you could literally play season 3, the expansion story, whatever, it's a whole new story to add on to what we're doing. You can start on tier 1, so you can just kind of blitz through and kill everything there. You wouldn't get anything worthwhile gear wise, which is fine. But then you can kind of build upon your character, like, so have some sort of system where you're still building up the power in your character, whether it's glyphs, whether it's add-ons to the uniques, gems, whatever. That, when I think about progression, that's what I'm thinking of. So what I don't kind of like about Diablo 4 and any Diablo game is at least with the seasons, is you constantly have to start a new character. I don't like that, because what's the point? Because a lot of times, like the vampiric powers, even though they talked about maybe having a couple come back over with your eternal characters, I don't know if that's going to remain the same. I don't know if that's really going to happen. But right now, like my builds for my eternal characters or my season 2 characters are heavily reliant on the packs, the vampiric packs. So I love like Hemanosy, Ravenous, stuff that speeds up your character and does certain things. A Cursed Touch. all that goes away. You lose all that. So when you go back into the Eternal Realm to play, how's that going to affect your battling? Like, so it has to change it, right? Because then you don't have it anymore. So those are the kind of things I'm just I don't really understand like why Diablo does it that way. I'm just wondering if Path of Exile runs into the same problem when they do that. Because even though you can take a character in Path of Exile and just keep running till infinity time, different maps, different things, do you still have to start new characters per season?
Abilities and things that you can use later.
Which, to be fair to Diablo 4, the Ascendancy class or the Ascendancies were not added until 2014 or 15. It was not on release.
Or
Ascendancy, the game did not release
some of
with
the other
Ascendancies.
end game systems that have specific items that you can only get from doing
later?
those activities. There's something to that makes you want to keep coming back to it, that makes you want to learn more about it. But there's nothing to learn in Diablo. It's just go kill stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully you.
But that's what I like. And that's what he doesn't really understand. Like, that's what I like. The only thing I don't like is that if I'm not able to build my character up at more powerful, because that's sort of what people run into right now. Like, and it's one thing that DM talked about a while ago. You go in, but you don't feel like you're gaining any power. So if I'm a level 100 Sork and I've done pretty much everything I needed to do to strengthen my character, if I go into a boss fight, I'm still not feeling powerful enough. And even if it's not like a uber boss or whatever, you should still feel like even for Varshan, dude, like even then I'm still not like some people one shot those bosses. I can't do it. So I don't know how the fuck they're getting to where they are. But that kind of growth is what I want. I want to be able to walk in and one shot one of those motherfuckers, right? So that's where I want to be, but can't do it. Now, granted, that's fine because I am a casual player. I'm not somebody that's sitting at my computer 24/7 and able to maximize my time on the game.
Get a higher number. Okay.
Big number.
You got higher number. Good job.
Good boy.
Maybe you can
Get another
Lilith
higher
now.
number.
There's just nothing to it. And while I realize that this game is supposed to be for a much more simpler audience, people that aren't looking for something ultra complex, that doesn't mean it shouldn't have meaning. And for me, Diablo 4 doesn't have meaning.
Simpler audience.
All in all,
The game is not for you then, genius. It's for us simple jacks. Gives us simple jacks a game. Quit quiet crying about a game you don't like.
I expect more from the company that created the genre.
Oh my
From the
God.
company that made the game that inspired all of its competition. With
I'm fine with the level of complexity, but the boss design is inexcusable. The boss design is just, it's just awful. Like, that's it. Like, I mean, fuck the complexity of the game. Like, what about the bosses?
some odd over 9,000 people that worked on the game
Ooga
over
booga
its
audience,
creation,
yeah.
as well as all the money that they invested. I would expect an improvement over previous iterations and innovations within the genre.
For a guy that's supposedly a genius and so loves complexity, he doesn't have a real understanding of who Blizzard is. That makes you a moron. I know I'm being kind of rude, but you're sitting here saying, well, Diablo 4 is for the simpler people, but I don't understand like why after all this time they just can't make a more complex game. Like it's like I'm new to Blizzard. I don't know.
So when that same company is coming at me asking for $50 to $100 for an expansion of a game that didn't meet mine or many other players' expectations,
it's not for you.
Still has a long ways to go to improve. I mean, we still don't even have stash tabs.
Okay, the guy's just done whining about that shit. So yeah, so that's basically it. You know, you got people still crying about something that, you know, supposedly they don't like anyway. Not complex enough, have to pay for certain things, even though in Path of Exile you have to pay for stash tabs. I mean, you're a hypocrite. I mean, you're just clowning yourself at this point. So yeah, it's ridiculous. Like at least Asmon can acknowledge that, you know, Diablo 4 is kind of going in the right direction. And I say the same thing. I had a shit ton of fun in season 2. I don't give a fuck if Legendary didn't like it. My only question for a lot of these guys is quit dissing a game that you don't like. Like, what are you getting out of it other than just like shitting on a game that you really don't care about anyway? Just quit playing. If it's too simple for you, there's plenty of other fucking games to go play. Go play them. Like I said, Baldur's Gate 3 is apparently one of the best fucking games ever, but no one's playing it. Why? Because you had to pay for it? I don't know. I don't get it. If it's a game that you think is so fucking amazing, show us. I like these streamers. I do. I don't know about Legend too much. He sounds like kind of like an ego dick, but he could be a nice guy. I'm just judging based off some of the crap he's saying in this, but I like that they give us the content. Like, I like that they talk about games because that gives us an insight to what's going on out in the world of gaming. And for a guy like me that's a casual, it gives me a chance to see shit that's going on with games that I'm interested in. But at this point, there really is no need to shit on Diablo 4 anymore. Not right now. If season 3 comes out and the expansion or whatever they plan to do and it bombs, great. Knock yourself out because they deserve it. But we're not at that point, dude. We are looking at improvement. And this isn't me trying to simp for Blizzard or Diablo 4. I'm just a realist. I know who Blizzard are. I've been playing World of Warcraft since 2007. I know exactly who they are and what they do. And it's not to diss the people of Path of Exile because they made a pretty good game, but like, it's not a game for me. It takes up too much time to figure the fucking thing out. I don't want to do that. So if Diablo 4, if I get home from work or if I'm on my day off and I just want to jump on for a couple hours to have fun, to unwind, to enjoy just going out and killing things, then that's what I want to do. Like, the game's not meant for you, dude. You keep trying to gatekeep and this purist attitude about like, this game should be for me and nobody else. No, it's not for you. It's not made for you. You just admit it's not for you. So why do you keep shitting on it? Why do you keep trying to compare it to a game that apparently you like? How about show us some of that gameplay since you're so great at it? I mean, I'd respect that far more than sitting here trying to diss and shit all over Diablo 4. It's easy to hate on something. Go show me something that's good. Hell, I encourage anybody, Asmon, DM, fucking Hog, Legendary, Rax, anybody, please go play Baldur's Gate 3. Show me what that game is and how great it is. I played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, I think, back in the day. Show me how great Baldur's Gate 3 is, please. If it's that great, it's won awards, why the fuck is no one playing it? Makes no fucking sense. We're just going to shit all over Diablo 4 because, that's a cool thing to do. We're just a bunch of nerds. We play all day so we can shit on a game we don't like anyway. Get the fuck over it, man. Like, they're working their shit through. And if you don't like the fact they charge for it, then don't buy it. It's that fucking simple, man. Have some self-control. All right. Rant over. Let's talk about a game that is free. And it's not Path of Exile. So I came across this game again on Epic Games. I have the launcher and all that good stuff because I was playing Hogwarts Legacy back in the day. And of course, Werewolf is on there. Like I said, right now they have a sale going on until the 10th on some of their games. It's digital games. So Werewolf the Apocalypse was one of them, which I showed earlier. And then this one, Phantom Blade Executioners, which is very cool. The game kind of reminds me a little bit of Ninja Gaiden a little bit from back in the day. So a little thing here is the Phantom Blade Execution is a fast-paced ARPG. Players will journey down a bloody path of love and vengeance between the characters. The game uses a high-speed move action system. You must be able to solve the darkest mysteries. So I think I got a trailer here for it. We'll take a look at that real quick before we see some of the gameplay. So yeah, man, like what you see there is exactly how the game looks. It's very kind of cartoonish, anime-ish. Graphics are amazing for a game like that. Um, I've been having a lot of fun with it so far. Granted, there's a little bit of complexity with this game. I'm still learning some stuff. Still early in the game, but you get like certain powers, these phantoms that are like helpers in the sense that they can give you extra skills or can join you during battle. You can do like chain reactions with on. So I haven't figured out how it all works totally yet. So I'll probably look up like a guide to try to hone in on that a little bit just to figure out like how to do the best kind of like building or process. So in a way it's complex, but it's not fucking like nuts like Path of Exile. It's not that kind of complexity. It's just because I'm not used to playing the game. So here's a guy, I believe this is Clint Wolf. He's kind of giving a breakdown. I didn't use the entire video because like an hour, and I don't want to go for another hour on a game, but he kind of breaks down some of the skill sets and the phantoms and how they work. And so we're just going to kind of sit here and I think I still have the sound on this, so we'll go and check it out.
Over here now, and now let's kind of get into some technical stuff, some stuff that may be a little bit more difficult for you to understand. So first things first, costumes. Costumes are just aesthetic. They're just aesthetic pieces, and they're based off of the character build that you have or unlocking them. Like this time traveler costume was unlocked from one of the events, so I was able to equip this, and it just pretty much changes the aesthetic of your character. You can actually customize the backgrounds of your character.
Yeah, I definitely haven't gotten that far yet. I've seen the settings for this, like where you can achieve or, acquire your cosmetics and stuff, but I haven't got that far in the game yet.
And add different stuff to it like this is really, really cool. I kind of like this stuff. And it's just all aesthetic. It's not really doing anything as far as our gameplay. Then we have gear. Gear is very, very, very important because every single piece of gear has statistics on it that's going to help your character in some type of fashion for a specific type of build. For instance, you can make a build that's all about airborne attacks, and you can put gear on that's going to complement your attacking while in the air, or complement your skills damage while in the air, or increase the skill levels of some of your airborne attacking type skills. And you just want to kind of match up your gear sets properly so that way, for one, you're taking advantage of the set pieces, and two, you're getting substats on it that actually makes sense for the build that you're trying to go for. Right now, there's a couple of different options here that you can do with your gear. You have enhance here, which is going to be simply enhancing the actual enhancement level of your gear, I guess. And this is going to be how you can unlock more of the substats for your specific piece of gear. I'm going to try to get this up to level 9 real quick. I don't really recommend doing this type of stuff until you get to the point to where you're using all green gear. It's not really...
Yeah, I haven't even got to that part either. Like a lot of the gear I have is your basic gear, and you can enhance them. But this is like definitely further in the game, so I'm very curious how this is all going to work. I see he has like a modify. I'm not sure if like you can when you get better gear, if you can incorporate them into the newer gear or not. Like I didn't really hear if you said that you can do that or not, but this is going to be something I'm looking forward to in the game.
Useful to use these features on the gear early game. I would not start worrying about your gear too much until you get to like level 40. Probably level 40 is probably when you want to start kind of focusing on your gear and maybe start to upgrade your gear a little bit, because the game and the progression slows down a little bit after level 40, right? But either way, you got a max enhancement level on your set gears of Forge level 9. You can also modify your gear, which is going to be simply you changing the stats that you get, or the special stat that you get.
That's good to know. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I'll wait until I get further up. I think I'm at level 16 right now, I think.
And I don't like the defense while airborne, so we're going to modify this so I can get a different type of sub bonus. We're going to get our ground defense modified here, and we're going to actually use that. And once you choose a substat to modify on a specific piece of gear, you cannot reselect that attribute, so you can only modify that attribute. So keep that in mind. Something else you can do is engrave gear with sigil pieces. All right, so some gear is going to have these slots on it down here, and they'll have, you see the plus signs. If you see these plus signs, what that means is you can put these sigils or engravings on your gear. This is like adding another artifact. It's like an artifact set essentially in other games. So the specific thing about this though is each artifact set or piece of artifact, whatever you want to call it, it has a specific combination in which you have to slot the pieces into your gear to get the proper buffs from them. So you want to pay attention to this section right here. You can kind of see me tapping on it on the screen. You want to pay attention to this section right here because this lets you see how you need to slot your engravings into your pieces of gear. All right. So the first thing I want to do is look for an engraving that only needs 2 pieces. So this is one that only needs 2 pieces. This gear only has 2 slots for engraving. So I want to make sure that I'm using an engraving set that only needs 2 slots. So this would be one of them right here. And I don't know if I have the yellow piece that I need to complete this one. So we're going to kind of keep looking through a couple of them. And we have another one here. So we can complete this one. And this one is going to give me a damage bonus. So I'm going to actually equip this one in this slot. And then I'm going to equip this one in this slot. And what that does is now it's going to actually give me the set bonus that I need, because you see it's giving me the strong attack set bonus right now, the true master set bonus, which is going to be increasing my attack even more. So that's how you want to equip your engravings, and the way that you can farm engravings I'm about to show you in just a little bit, right? That perfect sub stats for your gear, right? Then we have the skills. This is where it gets a little bit complicated. The main thing you need to know is the last skill on your skill chain does not need to be red. If it's red, that means that your skill is probably not going to supply enough Sha-Chi on its own to complete the skill chain, because you're going to need that Sha-Chi charge in order to use that skill, all right? So if it says +2, that means you're gaining Sha-Chi. If it says a minus number, that means that's how much it's going to use Sha-Chi wise in order to actually activate that particular skill. So that's,
yeah, see, right now with mine, like some of them, most of them will give you like a positive, but then there are negative. But I didn't know like if you had to go and I mean, I kind of figured it out like really using negative towards the end of my skill sets, but he's saying that you don't even really need it till you like all the way to the end. So I don't know. Do you avoid negatives until you need them? Or because like he's got a negative there on his bottom bar, but it's not red. So I don't know. I have to still kind of like figure that out.
the first thing about skills. The second thing is each
But you can
skill
see
has a
back the little diamonds above it. Those are your phantoms that give you, that you achieve through the game. It's kind of like summons. So you can summon these like phantoms and then they give you different skill sets.
type. You have ground skills and you have aerial skills. Like both of these are ground skills, but this is because this ground skill is like a swipe up and it's kind of popping the enemies up in the air, and this is a setup for me to go into my aerial skill chain right here. You can see this, the rest of these are all aerial skills, and this means that I'm going to be positioned in the sky as I'm using these, and I end off with Firestorm because I don't have another aerial skill to put there, right? But you have ground skills, you have aerial skills. You can honestly make the skill chain however you want to make it. You don't have to necessarily use aerial and ground. You can honestly just use both ground skill combinations, but at the end of the day, regardless of how you set up your skill chains, you just want to make sure that the numbers aren't red at the end. You want to make sure that the Sha-Chi gain is enough to satisfy how much Sha-Chi you're going to use in that particular skill chain. All right, so that's important there. Equipping phantoms, we'll kind of have a video going more in depth about this, placements and different stuff like this, but you just want to make sure you equip phantoms or synced phantoms to your skills as well, because this is what's going to allow you to augment your abilities and give you some extra skills and different damage bonuses and abilities and stuff like that in combat. And you just have to make sure you're paying attention to how much perception you have used in order to do that, because perception is essentially what's going to keep you from just equipping a whole bunch of epic phantoms on all your skills early game, and this is going to increase as you continue to level up. All right, but
yeah, so you see on the top right there the perception. So he has 52 points he can work with. So each of these like +2, +1, they all add up. And so yeah, I want to rewind that real quick just to hear what he said with that.
combat, and you have to make sure you're paying attention to how much perception you have used in order to do that, because perception is essentially what's going to keep you from just equipping a whole bunch of epic phantoms on all your skills early game, and this is going to increase as you continue to level up. All right, but early on, I think you can only equip like 3 of these gold phantoms maximum, and you just want to make sure you're equipping them to all your skills. And the way you're going to do this, click on the skill, go to sync, and then you'll be able to see exactly which skill you want to sync on your character. Now, let's take a look at the actual skills menu. You have your basic skills, which are skills that you start off with. Then you have your advanced skill. After you equip, I believe, 3 advanced skills to your skill chain, you're going to go ahead and go through almost like a class change type of deal, where if you have 3 of the same exact type of advanced skill, which you have to, if you have 3 of the same advanced skill, you're going to augment the rest of your skills from your basic combo chain, and some of them are going to turn into whatever class you decide to go to, with your particular character. So if I was to equip 3 of the dark skills right here, then those skills that you see turned orange, they will probably be turned dark, or it'll be other skills that turn purple, right? But it kind of augments your full combo chain or comboing ability once you
I'm actually
choose
trying to look at mine now while he's talking about
advanced classes. You also have your awakenings, which will be done after you finish the Realm of Beauty, so I'll kind of come back to that in a separate video. And then we have Phantoms. Phantoms, another very, very important part of the game. Main thing you need to know about Phantoms is the epic Phantoms, they all come as a 4-star. You can get them up to 5 or 6 flames, 6 orange flames. Once they get up to 6 orange flames, you can do this by leveling them up to max. Then you have to go and evolve them once they're leveled up to max. So let me see if I can kind of find an example. So this guy right here, he's level 55 flames. So in order to ascend him, I would be able to feed pretty much any character I want to feed into him, so I can level him up to the next evolution tier, which would be 6 flames. Once they get up to 6 flames, which this guy right here, for instance, Mecha Emperor. I have Mecha Emperor up to 6 flames. Once you get these guys up to 6 flames, you then have to start feeding the same type of phantom into that character to level them up more. So I have Evil Punisher here. We can evolve Evil Punisher by feeding a dupe of Evil Punisher into him, and then that's going to send him into a single purple flame. And then obviously getting up to 6 purple flames is where you're trying to go with these characters. In order to level up your characters, you want to use these little clown looking things. These are things that are specifically designed to be fed for EXP purposes. So you can use quick fill and it'll fill it up for you. And each flame represents 10 levels. So if you have 1 flame, you can get that character up to level 10, 2 level 20, 3 level 30, that type of thing. And once you get to the purple flames, like I said, you can only advance them or evolve them, ascend them using duplicates. So that's why you want to start holding on to duplicates, and you have to use more than 1 duplicate after you get to the second flame and stuff, right? But that's very, very important for that purposes. The only other thing you really need to know, besides being able to advance the phantoms, evolve the phantoms using duplicates, is the fact that there are special phantoms like the traversing one that you can use to essentially expedite the first half of that process, meaning getting up to 6 orange flames. You can use this if you use this as an enhancement item, meaning like a.
Okay, so yeah, so he's broken down a little bit about like how the system works. You can find his full video on that at Clint Wolf. I'll have all the links to the people I've talked about and used their videos today in my description box. It's definitely a fun game. Again, you gotta think. I'm trying to like figure some of this stuff out, but it's not near as bad as Path of Exile in terms of like setup. Like you're not spending a lot of time. You can go and fight, build up your character, and it's a lot of fun. And I just have a blast with it so far. So it's for a free game. Didn't have to pay for anything. Now, obviously, they have their own set of microtransactions that you can buy, but I don't even worry about that shit. Definitely love what I see so far with the game, and I'm having a lot of blast with it. So that's going to do it, folks. 2 games there from Epic Games that you might want to check out: Werewolf the Apocalypse and Phantom Blades Executioners. And the rest of it's just drama llama stuff about D4. But had to vent, man. Like it's just so ridiculous at this point. Like the guys are trying, and if you're not into the game, just don't play it. Don't play it. Quit telling everybody how bad it is. You don't like it, don't play it. Simple shit, dude. Anyway, thank you all for checking out the video. Hit the like button to subscribe if you enjoyed the channel, and we'll see you next time here on the Metal Time Radio podcast, man. Keep it metal.